Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers he plucks. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.
Hi, I'm Adam Heath Avitable.
And I'm Sarah.
This is Dating Kinda Sucks, a podcast about dating, sex, and relationships. This week, we'll be talking about the importance of communication. Enjoy the show.
And if you're watching us right now on YouTube, now is a great time to subscribe so you never miss a mess up like this, and turn on any post notifications so you don't miss a single video as well.
So welcome back.
Are we doing this? Is
We're
this
doing
happening?
an episode. We took a
weird.
month off. We're skipping one episode just means we take a month off, basically, is kind of how it goes. You were on vacation. And I
wanted to record, and you were like, no, you should take the full break. And also, I kind of don't want to record. And the minute we didn't record an episode, people were like, are you mad at Adam? Are you not doing the podcast anymore? What did Adam do? And I'm like, nothing. I actually wanted to record an episode. We just decided we both needed a break. Damn.
Well, because you were going to try to record, and then you were going to have to edit the whole episode on your actual vacation.
Right.
And the first day you got to I think it was like the second day you got to wherever you're going, and I was like, do you really want to do that? Like, is that really what you're gonna want to do? I know you, and I don't really want to deal with your texts and your phone calls being like, I fucking hate this. Why am I editing when I'm on vacation? I'm on blah blah blah.
The quality's not good. Blah blah blah. Yeah.
So I was just protecting future me from having to listen to future Sarah bitch about it. That's what I was doing.
Okay.
So
But we're back. So yay.
We're back, and we are. It's April.
It's April 11th right now. Sunday, April 11th. This will be out on the 13th. So.
Yes. Yeah, which is
welcome
just crazy.
To the month. Yeah.
Oh,
we're both vaccinated now. Everybody is starting to get the vaccine, so that's cool.
Yeah, I'm getting my next one. My second shot is actually coming up tomorrow, Monday night. So that'll be good. And we have I mean, I don't know how much you want to talk about your shit, but my whole life's just basically exploded. So
I know, and it's probably a good thing we took a break then, because you're having to figure out your entire life now from scratch.
Yeah.
Actually, let's start with that. Let's start with Adam's just blow up of a week.
Let's start with so I've been living in the same house for 11 years. It's where I moved in right after I got divorced. I was looking for a good place to rent, with the idea that maybe I would eventually buy, but like I just was so comfortable renting here. It's a good house. Like it's a great house. I've been here for 11 solid years. And on Monday, I got the notice that the owner wants to sell the house out from under me without he gave me the legally obligated, amount of time.
30-day notice, right?
Yeah, a little bit more. He gave me a month and a half. It would have been nice, and I feel like maybe reasonable to give me 90 days or 120 days notice. But he wants to capitalize on the market doing well, and he wants to try to sell and get that cash money. And so I have until May 31st to vacate the premises, which is crazy.
And that's honestly been the one thing keeping you in Orlando, because every time I've asked you, why Orlando? Why are you staying? And it's always, I live in a good house. I love this house that I'm in.
Like, it's comfortable, it's safe. People know they can come here and be safe. Like it's overall just a good house. And so I really do love it. And so that then the next step is, well, what are you going to do? Try to move to a new place. Well, trying to find a new place right now is damn near impossible. Especially like trying to find an actual another house. This is also given the way that I have this house set up, without getting into details and specifics. It's a pretty cush deal. Like what I have right now is a pretty great deal for that works out very well for me, that I would not be able to duplicate in another home. And so with that, it puts me in a very difficult position. So I have decided to literally sell everything that I own put a very small amount of things in like a small storage unit, and then to just like hit the road. And maybe I have a family cabin in North Carolina. Go up there for a couple months to hang out and maybe work on a book that I've been working on, and then maybe just kind of travel around, look for people who want maybe there's a haunted house somewhere that needs a caretaker, or a weird
I
farm
think
in the
you
middle
showed
of
me a
nowhere.
house in the
Yeah,
mountains that you had to walk like a mile in the
yeah,
snow
yeah,
to.
yeah.
I'm like,
Like
Adam, you're not gonna fucking do
like there's
that.
this
Don't.
there's
No.
these people who want a house. They want a house sitter for their ranch in Colorado that's a mile and a half by snowmobile or snowshoe,
There's no
and
fucking way. No
it's off
fucking
the
way.
grid. Yeah, I know, but I kind of like the idea of it, even though I would definitely die. Like 100%, I would die from that. Just from
You
the
walking a
it's
mile?
fun.
No
Well,
fucking way.
snowmobile. So like that
You
doesn't say
have
I
to
have to
get a
walk.
snowmobile. You don't have a fucking. You
I'm
live in
assuming they
Florida.
would provide a snowmobile. I'm assuming there's a snowmobile aspect to that because it's 143 acres that you have to kind of keep an eye on too. So, anyways, that was one of the things I was looking at. So, essentially, though, the whole world is actually opened up. I've told you many times that what keeps me here, because what I really want to do is go somewhere private and quiet and write and work on more books, because I've published a couple books and I really love doing it and I really want to do more. And I sit here and I get stagnant, and and I just goof off with my friends and everything. So I might as well abandon all of that and go
No more
somewhere.
dating. Give
Oh
up
yeah,
on fucking
I mean,
dating. I
well,
mean, obviously.
yeah, that's gonna be damn near impossible anyways. Especially if I'm only somewhere for 2 months at a time. I'm not giving up on fucking, but dating, yes. So I guess we'll see how that goes. And yeah, I'm gonna go crazy essentially, and just be a vagabond for a while. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. But what I'm looking forward to is not this next 40 days of stress and pressure to try to sell everything and get the house ready and all this stuff, and you just do all that stuff. I don't want it like that. Is just that's the big issue. I'm looking forward to 2 months from now when I'm in the cabin in the mountains and I can like relax.
Right.
But
Right.
we'll see. So yeah, when I heard that Monday, I did what most adults would do, and I came home and I went right back to bed, and I think I pretty much stayed in bed for 3 days
I think
straight.
you called me and you're like, so just want to give you a heads up. Glad you're back from vacation. I'm moving. I'm like, wait, what?
My life is over. Yeah. And here's the really, like, it is, and I'm not someone who believes in anything like fate or anything like that. I really think we make our own fate. But it is funny that I had actually just recently bought a car, because I have been without a car. I have a non-working car in the garage that I need to sell, but I don't have a car that I can rely on, and I just bought a reliable good car to maybe go. I was gonna go up to the cabin anyways, but like I bought something, and I can't imagine how I would be dealing with this if I didn't have any vehicle. Because if I didn't have a vehicle and I had to like try to move and do all this shit, you know what I would have done? I would have hung myself in the front yard and just made it as
Adam, please don't joke about
and
shit like
just
that.
made it
Stop
as
it. Stop
naked,
it.
naked, and just like made it as just messy as possible, just so nobody would ever want to buy this house. Like essentially, is what I would have done. Like I would have,
Not funny. That's
and
not
then
funny.
haunted the
Not
property
funny.
for forever. That's really that is. I'm not really joking that much. If that so it's good that I had a
Oh
car.
my
Like,
god.
and all I can hope is that as soon as I'm finally move out and everything, the market tanks and the owner can't sell the house. And that's really what I hope. I think that would be hilarious. I would appreciate that irony, because after being here for 11 years, he's owned the property for 15. So I have actually lived here for much longer than he did before he rented it out. So yeah, a big hearty fuck you to him. I'll say that for sure.
Well, it's the push that you need to
It is. It
enter a
is.
new
It
chapter of
is.
your life.
It
So,
is.
and we're all rooting for you.
Oh,
So,
wow, yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Yeah.
well, actually, we're both about to enter a new chapter of our lives because, wait, so your date's May 31st, mine's June 4th. So, June 4th, I am leaving Nashville. So,
Yes.
surprise. And it's weird because we're on the same path right now where I've only really told a couple of close friends, and that's been about it. Not even like a lot of family members, but I'm planning on just putting all my shit in storage too and traveling around, and Master of None's gonna meet me wherever I'm at, and then eventually we'll figure it out where we're gonna live. So
It is
I'm really
funny
in the
that we
play it
both are
by
doing
ear mode right now. Yeah, we're in
the
the same
same
boat.
thing. It's just, yeah, and yours is a little more voluntary than mine, but it's also
Right.
both, yeah. Because you, I mean, the nice thing is your job, you can work wherever you want. And I think that's
Right.
really the benefit there is that you can take that money you put towards rent and be like, all right, I'm going to go stay here. I'm going to stay here, and
And that's
actually,
exactly what I'm literally getting an Airbnb with a similar price for what I pay for rent, and then doing that for a month, and then saying, okay, where's another like long-term rental place I can stay for another month in another state, and then hopefully by then, Master of None and I are like, okay, we want to live here. Or here's our next plan, and go from there. But he just needs a little bit more time, and I'm like, well, I kind of want to enjoy summer in a
yeah,
better climate and enjoy the beach, and yeah, so.
yeah, absolutely, it's going to be great. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stay in the cabin for a couple months, and then from there, I'm probably actually going to be in the Nashville area because I
When I'm
have
not there,
I
of
know, of
course.
course, you're not going to be there, and then I'm going to be ideally, I'd really like to make it over to the Pacific Northwest at some point. I have so many friends over there, and I'd really like to be there, but I'm going to play it by ear, see what's available, what I can, just
Wait,
how
wait,
I'm
wait.
feeling.
So Dating Kind of Sucks is on tour starting June 1st, pretty much.
Basically, we're
I
on tour,
mean,
but yeah, I mean, we'll both
we'll
do
still be
meetups
in
wherever,
different areas,
yeah,
but yeah.
we can do dating kind of sucks meetups wherever we are, wherever anybody wants to. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be good. And hey, if any of our listeners have a just a random house sitting empty that they never use, well,
You
that's the
would.
thing.
You
They
would.
will. Oh yeah, I mean, the thing is, there literally are 17 million empty homes in the United States because
Did you
so
look that up after you got your notice?
no, it's something I'd read before because I was
Okay.
reading about the problem with like ways to solve the homeless, problem and everything for years, is that there are people that have multiple homes, 4 or 5 houses, that they obviously they can't live in more than one at a time, and some that they just never go to. Oh, this is our place. Like I mean, honestly, like my grandfather's cabin in North Carolina, it gets maybe a month of visitors a year, and the other 11 months it sits empty. So like we might as well get used, and so like I'm like, there has to be somebody I know who has just an extra house anywhere in the United States or Canada who's just like, yeah, you know what, I need somebody to come make sure nobody robs it or burns it down or breaks in, and yeah, come stay there. And
No one's gonna break in if you're there.
exactly that's how. So we'll see what happens. I am excited about it, and I'm looking forward to really getting some more creative projects done because I do want to work on my next book, and it'll be nice. So that's so my dating life is definitely um
Non-existent. It
yeah,
completely stopped.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing. I guess I'll play that by ear because I mean, if I am open to moving wherever, I could always meet people and then eventually be like, oh well, I guess this is a place that's worth coming to or staying here for a while. So we'll see.
You're giving up
Um,
on dating but not fucking is I think that's
It's
the
probably
quote
most
for the
accurate. Yes,
episode.
I think that's
So,
most accurate
yeah.
way to describe it. And it's funny, I just matched with somebody on Bumble, and she actually already follows me on TikTok and something just random. So she was like, I figured I'd eventually run across you on a dating app because I've been watching your TikToks for a while, and then but she's local, and I'm like, yeah, we're chatting, but I'm also like, I know there's nothing that's gonna happen here. Like, there's not at all. I've got 40 days. I'm not spending any of these next 40 days in trying to do any dating. Like, I have to spend this
Yeah,
time
you're focused
organizing.
on, yeah, building that next journey, and yeah, getting your shit together. I That was the same way before I left Orlando. I think the last 2 to 3 months I was completely, what the fuck is the point? So I
Yeah.
just got to focus on me getting my shit together and then move the hell out.
So maybe we'll just play new games where every time we record a new episode, it'll be like, "Where in the world is Carmen San Diego?" But it's like,
I know.
where are Sarah and Adam? Maybe we can give clues and people can see if they can figure it out.
Yeah.
But and if hopefully ideally at some point we'll actually end up in the same town because that'd be great. Like if you end up coming up to North Carolina when I have the cabin there, like we could do that.
Hopefully we can
Yeah,
time it out that way. That would be
figure out
cool.
the timing some way would be nice. Since we are both going to be traveling, we might as well occasionally try to meet up. Sorry.
You're good.
So, what else is going on with you? You have
Let's
kind of, I
see.
mean, I would say like, I mean, we already had our big news. Obviously we're both going to be, itinerant. But what is your other news?
My other news is especially for longtime listeners. So tomorrow marks Master of None and I's like 1 year anniversary when we first had our first date. I guess that's like, I don't know. He was like, when do we count it as actually an anniversary? But we had our first date a year ago tomorrow.
Does that mean the virtual date or is that the
That was the virtual date, yeah.
Okay, so you're counting that for the anniversary. Okay.
I
Yeah, yeah,
mean,
It makes sense, I guess. A virtual
I
date
get-
was still a date, you know?
I don't know any other date, so but that's the only one I know because I like wrote it down of like virtual date, and then I looked back and was like, oh no, that is the date that we had.
Luckily, we have a podcast where we detail everything in excruciating detail.
I knew you were gonna
Well,
say
we
that,
could
but
probably figure
I
that out.
don't
If
know
we
the specific date except for
Yeah.
that one. Like I could probably pinpoint down the week or something, but yeah. So
But no, I mean, the virtual date works too. So 1 year anniversary. That's crazy.
I know
Who would have ever
definitely has.
thought?
It definitely doesn't feel like it's been a year at all. And it's not like we're doing anything crazy for it. I mean, he just left a couple hours ago and we spent the whole weekend together, like typical. But yeah, when I got back from vacation, it was, I don't know, now that I've been on vacation a couple times since we've been dating, I feel like when I get back from vacation, we're just kind of really missing one another, and it actually just helps our relationship more, just getting back, because we get in the routine of Friday through Sunday, he's at my place and we're hanging out, and then we might hang out one other day of the week. But when I don't see him for, a whole week because I'm gone or whatever, and then come back, it's like, I want to see you. I miss you so much. And I don't know, I just, a lot more sex, and and I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Well, you might as well get all of that as much as possible, because if you're going to be seeing him occasionally when you're on the road, it'll be a little bit harder. Although you'll have like a week of him at a time instead of just a weekend of him at a time. So
that's true. Yeah, like he's planning the first place that I'm going. He's planning on visiting for a week or so. So I know that he'll be there for that. But after that, it's like whether I come back to Nashville or whatever, we'll kind of just play that by ear. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I've been thinking about that of like, damn, in less than 2 months, our relationship's gonna kind of change a little bit, and it's not gonna be like forever long distance, but it will be a different dynamic. And I don't know. I'm very used to just us seeing each other, 3 to 4 times a week. And now it's like, even when I was on vacation this past week, I was like, I couldn't. I mean, also I was telling my friend a lot about him because I haven't really talked a lot about Master Nut to this one specific friend. But then I was like, damn, I feel like I'm talking a lot about him. I'm missing him. I haven't seen him. I was like, damn, what's up?
that's that's definitely a good sign. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird when you're on vacation, because I'm used to hearing from you on a constant basis and not getting FaceTimes when I'm trying to sleep at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. Is always odd. So, but it's good that it's good that he missed you and that you missed him. If you'd come back and didn't really care or whatever, yeah. Because originally I think we were thinking of recording when you got back, so we were like a week off essentially, and then you were like, you're gonna see him, and he misses you and want to see you and all that, and I was like, oh, that's good. I didn't consider that aspect of it,
Yeah, he had sent some cute text messages. I was like, "Oh, are you missing me?" I don't know. It's funny because, and this whole episode's about communication, but for our text message communication, I've talked about this in the past too. We really don't text a lot. It'll be like random check-ins of like this stupid video here, like 1 or 2 word answer here. And he was texting me a couple times like, "I can't wait to see you. I've been missing you." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not used to this. I like this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, adorable.
Things are good for me, and I can't complain.
It's hard to believe, though. You think that during a pandemic, you managed to actually find somebody and date them, and be in a relationship. I know. It's great, especially like if we look at some of your dating experiences in the earlier parts. Yeah. They weren't quite as they didn't bode well, I would say, and so.
Yeah, it is crazy though. We've been dating for a year, but there's still so much that we haven't done at a year mark. So typically before, obviously anal, still haven't done anal. He's eating my ass, so that's cool. Check mark on that. Still hasn't met my friends. I haven't met his friends. I mean,
there's so many like normal things you haven't done yet. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've met his family partially virtually, partially in person. He hasn't met anyone on my side of the family. There's just, I don't know. I mean, we've gone on a vacation together, but there's other things that we haven't gone out at night to a bar or anything like that, or we haven't really gone and sat inside at a restaurant. I mean, we've actually started, now that I have the vaccine and he's now fully vaccinated, we've gone out to a couple of restaurants and sat outside and things like that. Because I know when we first started dating, that was the one thing I wanted to do more of, was go out in public and this and that. But now some of those things are starting to shift. But I mean, there's still so many things where that's why both of us don't really feel like we've hit the 1 year mark, because we're still like kind of playing catch up with some of the like normal things that you would experience after dating someone for a year.
Yeah, no, that's very true. You guys are a slow year, and in the
Yeah.
sense like the year just as little all those little weird milestones that most people would have had in a
They're not
normal
even
time. They're
milestones,
not even
but
milestones;
like,
they're just like things that you've done. Yeah,
yeah.
it is kind of odd, because it's like not to jinx you,
I
but
was
like
gonna say,
what
you're gonna be a dick.
what happens is if like if like your friends hate him or you hate his friends or whatever, like I just like that changes that changes the dynamic. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that your relationship is gonna have issues, but it does make it's a weird thing to not know for a whole year, like how you feel about his friends.
I mean, and that was something where when we first started dating, he didn't want to be official or whatever because we weren't doing those normal things. And he was like, I
Yeah,
kind of want to wait until, we go out on a regular date. And I was like, who fucking knows when that's going to be? I mean, like, damn, we would still be
yeah,
just casually seeing one another at that point if that was still the standard, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, that will definitely be interesting. I don't foresee my friends or his friends have being an issue, but I mean, there's always curveballs in every relationship. So I mean, yeah, I don't want to jinx myself either with that, but I don't foresee that being a problem. But maybe
Suffice
my
to-
family more than his family, but that's all.
yeah,
Maybe meeting you more than him. I don't know.
yeah. I know. I am sad that I didn't get the chance to meet him when I was in town, but now that maybe with all the vaccinations and everything, maybe at some point we'll all end up in Nashville at the same time,
Yeah.
or figure that out too. Um, and yeah, it'd be nice to meet him as well. But I will at least it means that suffice to say we're gonna have plenty of topics of conversation no matter what. I think as everyone gets to live vicariously through your dating life.
I
Aren't you so happy?
I guess yeah, there's a new frontier of okay, now
Yeah.
Master of None has met my family. Now let's talk about it. I guess, yeah.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, everything new is always worth talking about. Versus me, which who knows what the fuck's gonna happen here. I'm just gonna
You
go
have
crazy or
newness
crazy.
coming. Don't sell yourself short. You
Oh
have
no,
new
I know.
things coming.
I'm just gonna go slowly crazy though, because I'm gonna be just locking myself alone in a cabin. So it's we're gonna see Adam just go like Ted Kaczynski style, basically. Just my beard's gonna get crazy. It's gonna be
Not crazy already?
nah, it is crazy already. It's true. All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um, we wanted to talk about the topic that we wanted to discuss was communication, and
Right.
one of the reasons I thought we would get into it before the first half is was one of our Facebook group posts. Somebody posted in the group. He's been a listener and a member for a while. And he said, I've been dating this woman for 2 months or so. She's divorced, has a kid. I have a kid, and so we have a lot of similarity. I don't think we're stagnant, but the getting to know each other is kind of slowed down, and it's more of a how's your day and work and thank bombing, and then he puts in parentheses, definitely not love bombing, but just like continual thanks for being kind, understanding, etc. Things that we weren't used to in our past relationships. Um, and then everything kind of, he says, normally when I get to the how's your work, your day, things kind of simmer and interest is lost. I feel 100% that that's not the case for either of us. So how do you keep things from like getting to know each other, and how do you slow down the daily mundaneness? And he just wanted some idea on how to keep things from getting kind of boring when you're a couple months into dating someone.
And that was from our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/DKS podcast, just to
Yes,
throw that in there
yes,
too.
yes, yes.
Um, I mean, how do you really know that the interest isn't lost? He thinks that. That's just thinking from texting guys and
Right.
being like, "Oh, this is great." And when it starts to get mundane, I've already checked out. I've already been
Yeah.
like, whatever, and I just kind of answer, but I'm not. And unless I see them and that spark is reignited, text messages just kind of blah, And I've started to check out. So I mean, it could be mundane on her part. I mean, he can't really speak for her. I think he doesn't think it's mundane. He's worried that it's getting boring. And I don't know. I'm just like, well, you can't really say that it's not.
Well, that's true, and I think sometimes that's why like you keep talking to people. That's why people shouldn't rush into like relationships and rush into. I mean, that's what
Right.
dating is trying to see if you have something that's going to last longer than, oh, there's good sex and like we get along because we have similar situations. But is there more that you want to talk about? I find that I like if I like somebody, there's never like I never run out of things that I want to talk to them about. I never run
I'm
out of
never
like
questioning
yeah.
what do I say next. It's like, oh, I want to share this funny thing now, or no, I want to do this, or I want to see them in person. And I think when the relationship, when the conversation starts to fizzle, that's when I'm like, do you want to meet up again? Because then, I mean, maybe it's also a texting thing too, where both of them are just kind of busy with their regular lives. They both have kids. They're both busy doing their own thing right now. That maybe texting someone back isn't really a priority, or being exciting via text or whatever isn't great for either of them. So maybe meeting in person would be a better way to communicate versus just digitally.
Yeah, I think that's that. I think also, how about maybe talking on the phone instead of texting? Like maybe
I mean, yeah,
instead of like saving all these stupid like small talk texts, you wait until the end of the night and you like have a chat or whatever, and you talk to each other because he says that they've been dating for 2 months or so. So it sounds like it's not like they've gone on a couple dates, but they've actually been like dating. So they've been seeing each other regularly, and sometimes you don't need the small talk. Like, do you like?
agree. And she doesn't like it, or I don't. I mean, who knows if he
Yeah.
likes it either. I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with
You
that.
shouldn't feel obligated to every morning be like, good morning, beautiful, good morning, sweet." Like, unless someone is really needy and really needs that, which
Right.
they can tell you that that's something they really need, then I wouldn't say you have to do that. You can text when you have a reason to text, when you have something worthwhile to say. It's like the same reason that like you and I stopped doing episodes every week because
What
we
the
didn't
fuck are
have
we
it.
gonna talk
Yeah, what we're gonna
about?
talk about, and like during a pandemic where things are weird, like you might not have something to say every single day or every single hour. So maybe you kind of hold off until you have something worthwhile and say, hey, this reminded me of or whatever. But I always have things like I can get on the phone with someone that if I like them and talk for hours because there's always something new to talk about, your past, your history, like your things you dream about, the thing, your favorite TV shows. Like there's so many
But it's
different
better to
things.
talk than to
Yeah,
text about those things.
I
I agree. I mean, doing a Skype or a Zoom or something like that and saying, "Hey, let's chat. I know we can't meet in person or whatever. Let's chat tomorrow night for an hour or so just to catch up." I
yeah.
think that would be well received versus like, his question, my thought is some kind of 20 questions type game. I also think those could be pretty boring too. Depending on
Yeah,
what the questions are. It's like, is that really helpful, or is anyone really paying attention? I've done those through dating apps. Are those really exciting to do? No, not really. You're just kind of like, oh, I'm still talking to this guy. I don't
those could be
know.
good icebreakers. I think if you don't know anybody at all, like know someone at all, like just a way
But
to get,
2 months.
yeah. But if you've been with someone, and like I don't want to be too cynical, but
No,
like
I'm gonna be cynical. Fuck it. I'm
I
being
feel
a
like
bitch right now. It's fine. Whatever.
no, but like you should. I feel like at that point you shouldn't have to need a push to try to figure out what to talk about with somebody. Like you should already know. Like you should have topics. You shouldn't need 20 questions to do that at that point. Like if you're into somebody, you're into somebody, and so it might be that has a very short shelf life, and maybe the dating thing is like it's just you just guys are gonna kind of fade apart and that's it, or maybe you just keep banging and then like and realize that that's all you're doing and you're not actually dating, you're not engaging in any type of anything deeper. But
Mm.
I don't know. Yeah, I definitely think get rid of the small talk.
You don't
Only
need
time.
to talk that much anyways, and I keep going back to, I think that's what I wanted in past relationships and past dating experience, was just to like talk to somebody and feel like, someone's interested in me and blah blah blah. I don't get that now on a daily basis. Not to like knock on Master of None, but like we do not fucking text
Yeah,
or
you
communicate
guys,
that well day to
your
day. And
communications is it's
it
odd, but it works for both of
but
you.
it works for us. And I'm saying like this could, I mean, it's only been 2 months, but like maybe if they just communicate on a different level and it's not through text and they do video chats or they do a phone call. I mean, Master of None and I talk on the phone for an hour every couple of days too, instead of texting, because that's less small talk, that maybe switching up that would be better than trying to figure out what to text every day.
I agree, and I think that's an important part of communication is knowing sometimes when to not communicate too, like to when to cut back on some of the
Shut the fuck
communication.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to make sure your communication is valuable. If you do it too much in like mundane ways, then you don't know when you have important things to say.
Yeah, I agree. Cool.
Well, good.
That was a good icebreaker for this topic as we get back.
Yeah, I think that'll
after the break.
segue good into the topic of the importance of communication, and we will get to that when we return from this break.
So another reason that we thought this episode would be good to cover communication is because I receive a lot of DMs from people on Instagram talking about how often should I text someone. And this is just an example of a text message I got not too long ago. The message reads, how often should we message? I don't want to seem too distant, but also not too clingy. I went on a great first date with this person and I don't want to ruin this. And I think my response back to this person was, well, don't get too in your head about it. And there's no rules to how often you can or can't text somebody, but also be a level-headed person and don't send them 5 paragraphs worth of a text message and then expect them to respond right away. Or if they don't freak out about it. I mean, it seems like simple, like just don't go overboard. Just be yourself and
be yourself, but communicate at a level that you can tell they're comfortable with. Like if you reply, if you send them a text and they reply back a bunch, and then you can and it's a good flow, good. But if like you send them a text and you don't get an immediate reply, and then like they take a little while because they're busy or whatever, don't get anxious about it. Don't like start following up, or you're mad at me, like shit like that either.
Sending a question mark as a passive aggressive way.
Do that.
Oh my God, don't do that.
But also don't be afraid to be like, well, they sent the last. I've seen people say something like, well, they sent the last text, so, or I sent the last text, so it's up to them to reply. You're not fucking playing volleyball here. Like it doesn't matter. Volleyball's a game, and if you're playing games while you're trying to date, then you're not
gonna lose.
serious about it. Yeah, then you're gonna lose. You're not being serious about it. It's not a game. If for some reason you text,
if you want to text him, text him.
Yeah.
If you don't want to text him, don't fucking text him. Like
right.
It's not that fucking serious, but I think people with this message, I don't want to ruin it. I think that's the precursor to the thought process of how do I text this person? Because I don't want to ruin this, because this is the best first date I've gone on in a while and I have to hold on to it. And that obviously screams a little bit of like, I could be potentially desperate here because things went really well. And it's always just be chill, just relax, just be yourself. Don't expect it to, and take my advice or don't take my advice, but expect it to fail. So then you just won't give a fuck. And if they don't fucking like you, just keep going on with your life. If you think this is the last shot I got, you're going to fuck it up. So just don't give a fuck about it. And things might happen for you.
I mean, I agree with that.
Take a sip of a glass. I don't know. And then just take a sip of wine. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
I think that it's important to, if you have something worth saying, to text it. Don't inundate somebody. Don't, you can show that you're interested without like the stupid love bombing. The love bombing can push people away because it doesn't feel sincere, especially if you've just been on one date with somebody. You don't necessarily know how you feel about them. You know that you like what you've seen so far, but you don't actually know them. You know the idea that you have in your head about them, and
they could be a murderer.
Well, they could be a murderer. They could, they could be. You could have one good night and one good conversation. Doesn't necessarily mean someone is perfect for you. So you have to, just take it slow, and like you said, just be yourself. Be cool about it. Be very relaxed about it.
Be chill.
Go with the flow. But like I said, don't be afraid of that second text, that double text, because the number of times that I've double text somebody, and they're like, "Oh shit, I typed out a reply and I thought I hit send, it never sent. I'm glad you texted me again." And if I'd been like, well, I'm not going to text her back because it's her turn, then I never would have found that out. So don't be that person.
Agreed. It's fucking stupid.
So communication, obviously, one of the things we've been doing since the very beginning of this podcast is talking about we're
a podcast talking about honest and open communication.
Exactly. Like that's like the tenets that we subscribe to, that we promote. And it occurred to me, and I was we had these couple posts, and then it also occurred to me, I was like, have we ever done an episode on just like communication in general? Like we say it's so important to communicate, and how have we never managed in 4 years to be like, well, here's some ways to communicate, or here's like the best thing you can do to try to maximize your communication skills, because
we think everyone knows how to do it, and it's like, jokes on all of us. Like, everyone could improve on their communication in some way.
Yeah, like what would you say? What's your communication style? How do you like to communicate?
I'm passive aggressive as fuck. I know. I guess the thing is, I know my faults.
I thought you were going to say the joke response that you were talking about earlier. That's what I asked you. That.
Oh well.
How do you like to communicate? You were
How
gonna
do I like to, I mean, I like to communicate with a dick in my mouth,
yeah,
but
you brought that up earlier, and I was like, yeah, I'll say that, and then you forgot that you actually were gonna say that. Okay.
this is
Oh my
stupid.
god.
Why did you have to call me out like that?
Because
Um,
it's funny.
no, I was just gonna say like I think when we're dissecting communication and bettering your communication style, you also have to know what you fucking suck at and what you're like, what you can improve on. And mine is that I'm fucking passive aggressive when it comes to communication. So if I'm fucking mad, I'm going to ice you. If I'm fucking pissed off, I'm just going to respond K. If I like, that's just going to, and I own it. I don't try to say, no, I don't do that. No, I fucking own it. I know I do it. That's just a shitty part of my style, whatever. But when it comes to like the positive and like dating communication style, I mean, I am still pretty blunt with, oh, I don't really like that you did that. Or, I try not to let things fester too long with problems that are coming up. Or if I like someone or have feelings about something, I will pretty much say it, but I'll try to take the other person's how they might handle it into a certain account. So I don't want to be like super brash and say something rude when I'm like, they're not going to take that very well. So maybe I'll kind of sandwich it into something a little nicer so the message will be received.
I'll say that
Maybe not for you. Maybe not
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Don't throw yourself in there because I'm very, very, very harsh with you. But I'm saying like
You've gotten better though. You've gotten better.
I try.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This
but-
is a different dynamic. You and I are a different dynamic though. Like we're a relationship, but like it's a like you're a coworker, but not a coworker. You know what I mean?
No, I know. But yes, you are. You've gotten better than you were before though. Like in earlier years, you went ballistic one time, and then just you shut me out for like a week for nothing. By the way, for nothing. But
I don't know about if I remember that one. I don't even know what I was mad about, so it's regardless. But
yeah, anyways, so yes, I would say that it's good that you know those things and you recognize it. That's definitely important. I try not to be passive aggressive. I try to be very just very much understanding. I try to be like understanding the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand your point, and I'm not going to argue with
you
you.
don't do that with politics. Don't try to sugarcoat yourself there.
Because those points are stupid, and people who have those points
So
are just.
don't say you're
Well, I'm
don't say
saying,
you're understanding because those points you're not. So I mean, everyone has some faults. There you go.
well, I have plenty of faults, absolutely, but I mean, when it comes to communicating, I try to listen and I try to empathize, and I think those are important ways to do it in many situations. Yes, when it comes to politics and certain things, I will be a little stubborn, and I have to be very aware that my opinion comes across as very authoritative when I
It
communicate.
does. Yeah.
Yes. And even if I'm not trying to do that, it just comes across as this is the law, this is how I state it, it must be this way.
And I think that's why sidetrack. I think that's why I come at you even harder because that's how you come across. So I have to put my 2 feet firmly planted in the ground of like, no, fuck you. This is where I stand on this because you come across that way.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that I do too. That sometimes when I say shit like it is, I'm just like it's not because I'm trying to be like I don't I can't like that I'm saying nobody else can have a different opinion. It's just that's how I speak, and so I have to learn. So I think so I try to backtrack a lot or be very empathetic and try to be very willing to listen because I know that sometimes people won't argue with me just because they just like they feel like there's no point, and that can be frustrating for those people. I'm sure. I can.
I argue with you all the time.
You do all the time. Yes, I know. She's good. And that's what I like, and that's one reason. That's what makes this. I think this podcast work so well. Is our communication does work well because we do argue. Like we're able to have discussion. Hey Zach, just so you know, I'm recording. That's all right. That
we have discussions. That's what you're ended.
We have discussions that because you do challenge me, and I like that. Like I need people in my life to challenge me because the too many people will just listen to me and just go along with what I say, and that's never good because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about half the time.
I think that's an important part of being in a relationship too, is being challenged to a certain degree of just having not anything like a crazy conversation about you're right or wrong, but just being challenged in a way of like, oh, I didn't know that. Or, when someone brings up a new idea, instead of saying like, no, that's not what it is, going, oh, that's a new thought brought to the table that I've never been presented with this. And those things I'm definitely working on shaping a little bit more over time, of coming at it with oh, thank you for this new piece of information that I was unaware of. Cool. Tell me more, or,
Yes.
Instead of just going back with something that might have been against what I believed or what I already previously thought, just hearing them out and going, oh, that's new information.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So I think that as we all are trying to develop better communication skills, and this doesn't work, this doesn't relate just to dating relationships. Obviously, like our relationship, it affects it. Any type of interpersonal relationship, I think it can be, it's going to be beneficial to know how to communicate well. I think we should maybe give some tips on some of maybe the best ways to communicate. One thing that I'll start if you want, is just
Okay, yeah.
one of the best ways to communicate is to listen. Like,
Yeah.
communication isn't always about talking. Sometimes you need to shut the fuck up and just listen. And I see that a lot with a lot of this is maybe TikTok based too, where I see a lot of men who want to argue, and women say, something about, well, men do this, men do that, and these guys, instead of just listening to what she's actually saying, immediately get defensive and immediately try to argue and try to come up with, well, not all men, or I'm not that person. Why you hate all of it? Whatever, like whatever they have to say means that they didn't actually listen to what the person said. And the best thing you can do when you're communicating is to actually listen to them, is to just be quiet. Don't start building your argument. Don't start building your discussion. Don't start figuring out what you're going to say next. Just actually listen to them. Listen to what the words they're saying, and let that process. Like, don't be afraid to have some time pass before you have something to say. It's okay, because you should actually process everything they say, and you should be able to relate to that in some way if you have any ability to be empathetic.
And this doesn't have to be, I think you come from more of a confrontational side of things, but even if you're just, because you're like, these people on TikTok, we're fighting. And I'm like, oh God, not again. But even if you're just on a first date and you're listening to them talk, just asking qualifying questions to what they're saying and giving that positive reinforcement that you're listening to them, and just understanding and getting more interested in what they're talking about for whatever specific thing they're bringing up. I mean, that's important too, to just asking questions and diving more in. That shows you're interested, that encourages them to keep talking about the thing that, you asked them about, and it kind of brings on more momentum in that conversation, and hopefully more positive, I don't know, experiences.
I agree, and I think that there's nothing worse than being on a date with someone where you ask a question and they start answering, and then as they're answering, you all of a sudden think of something else you like, and like where it's like an interview, but it's also where you're not listening to anything you have to say. Like they ask you a question, you tell them something, and they immediately say, oh, well, I did, like they immediately have like an anecdote for every single thing that you have to say.
It's so fucking annoying. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Like, literally, that's the best piece of listen and shut the fuck up. Like, honestly, you'll save yourself a lot of trouble if you just do that for a little bit more than you currently do.
People will think you're a great communicator if you don't talk much. They really will, because
that is so fucking true. Yeah.
if you sit there and you're quiet and you let people talk and you ask them about themselves and everything, it's one of the things I do when I give career counseling as well, is like in an interview, when you can ask the interviewer about themselves, and if you get them talking about themselves and you listen well, they'll walk out of there saying, wow, I really like that person, because they just got to share stories about themselves and felt like they were heard, and that actually made them more endeared to you than if you were telling them stories and they were listening. So,
well, people like to talk about themselves. So anytime you're like, hey, tell me more about that, they're like, oh, look, they're so interested in me. Oh, look, they're still listening. Oh, and that kind of that's encouraging, of like, oh, they like me and they like what I'm saying. That's awesome.
yes, and it's so important, and dating is a good time to, there's a difference between 20 questions and interviewing someone and actually having a conversation.
Right.
But if you try to engage so that you are listening and that you're quiet more than half the time and letting the other person talk, you'll find that it's a more fruitful conversation, and that the person's going to appreciate that as well.
And awkward silences aren't the end of the world either. I let there be awkward silences. Yeah. That doesn't mean you have to fill the room with another thing about yourself. There's always those people who interject at an awkward silence because they're afraid of that silence. And those are the people where you're like, shut the fuck up. Literally nothing. Everything you just said did not benefit the conversation in any way. It would have been better if you took a sip of your fucking drink or just were quiet.
Yeah, being able to appreciate and enjoy the silence is very important. Because being present in the silence is also a good way to just have communication. You can just be there and be comfortable.
You just like smile a little bit. You kind of just, yeah. I'm just thinking being at a bar or whatever, and you're both kind of quiet after just talking a little bit, and you just kind of, I don't know, do something cute and see something funny across the room, and it sparks another conversation just from you two just being quiet and just enjoying the moment.
Absolutely. I think that the actual ability to listen to somebody ask a question that's meaningful and then remember it too. A big part of communication is that if what someone tells you just goes right out your brain and it just disappears, then you're not really listening. You're sitting there trying to prepare. Although if you're on a date and you're drinking, sometimes there may be times where you're like, I don't quite remember what we talked about, or this story is a little fuzzy. I've had that happen where it was a great conversation, but then later on I was like, what exactly, like what was that detail, and you might have trouble remembering that which is okay. Don't lie about it, but it's okay to do that. But try to the idea of active listening is a big aspect of communication, in the sense that you are actively listening. It's exactly as it sounds, but you're not listening for the sake of building your reply, but you're listening for listening's sake.
Yep. Yeah. I think there's just people just always want to fill the void and just talk. And I think too, going back to my previous dating experiences, to your point of, what did I just say? Was I drinking? Oh, did I talk about this or that or this? When you go on 4, 5, 6 dates in a row, they all seem to be the same. You hit on similar points, and you're like, did I tell that person this? Did I tell that person that? And then you're just like not even being genuine to these people. So try not to do. I know that's like a whole separate conversation of like round fire dates of 4 in a row in a short amount of time, but like that really fucks up your communication style too, because you're not really being genuine.
Right.
If you're dating like that.
Yeah, if it's like if you're doing that speed dating shit where they have a list of questions, none of that's it's nothing worthwhile that you're getting out of that. I had one thing that it always annoys me, and I don't know where to put this in the realm of communication, but is I match with people on dating apps, and I say annoy me in a very minimal way. I don't want people to think that I like it. Actually, like it's just a mild irritation. I feel like I have to say that because sometimes I think my voice makes it sound like I'm annoyed, and everybody gets worried about it, and I get scared of it, or gets feelings hurt. But is it someone who says, "Oh well, I already know everything about you because your social media and all this stuff, or whatever. So do you have any questions for me?" And the way it was.
Bitch, unmatched.
Which I was not what I would say, by the way. No, which is not what I would say. But part of it's like, if I have something to ask, I'm gonna fucking ask. Like, just don't worry about it. Like, I promise you that just because you know a lot of things, if there are things that I want to know right now that are pressing, I will ask them. If I can't tell them, and this recent person that I matched, who I think listens to the podcast, the one that I said already followed me on TikTok, she asked that, and she's like, since you don't know, I feel like you don't know anything about me. And I had already looked.
I don't know anything about you, and you don't really know anything about me.
Well, she had followed me on Instagram, so I saw her Instagram.
That doesn't mean she knows you, though. You know what I mean?
I understand that, obviously. Like, but people get to know. I mean, we're pretty
version of
yes, but they get to know a pretty realistic version of us on here, which does make it difficult. But I said no, based on your social media, I said I can tell that you're this and this and this and this, and I went through a whole paragraph or two about all the things that I could tell just as easily. And she was like, "Oh wow, like okay, yeah, you nailed all of that," And I was like, "Yeah, so I don't have any questions. Like I already I know all these things. I can tell this. I know how." Yeah, well, I know how to read people. It's not a difficult thing, but it does kind of like don't put the onus on somebody to ask questions, to like if you have specific questions you want to find out, just find them out. Don't feel like it's ever going to be imbalanced, because if someone has something to say, they will say it.
Yeah. Well, and don't ever be in the position where you're like, they should know about me. They should get to know about me, because I'm amazing. Well, bitch, you need to get to know him too. I mean, I'm just gonna say bitch a lot in this episode.
Yeah, I know. You're sassy today.
I don't know. It's like we take a couple weeks off and I'm just like, and this is a fucking bad idea and shut the fuck up and bitch, what? No.
I think, and then so that's, I mean, that's a big part of it is yes. Don't force somebody to like try to ask things. Just understand they will if they can. But like trying to force that type of communication, I'm not a fan of.
Mm.
Um,
I think it's also important when you're asking questions to ask, and we've talked about this before, asking open-ended questions to get to know somebody, to get to any kind of conversation instead of, do you like cheese? Yes or no? What's your favorite type of cheese? I don't know why. I mean, I know why I went to cheese as my first option here.
Right,
But
because you're fucking shredded,
but I mean,
shredded cheese.
but yeah, asking open-ended questions for a better conversation too, instead of just yes or no answers. If you're gonna do the text message thing or an actual in-person date or whatever.
And I think that real community. This might be wise because I mean I don't like small talk. I like real conversations. Like I'll get into deep conversations on a first date. When we did that dating, I did that dating show with Swipe
Dating
Fat,
in the modern age, yeah.
Swipe Fat girls, and we talked about some serious stuff or whatever. And I remember like the commentator being like, "Well, that's a little too deep for a first date," or whatever her snarky bullshit was. And
Right, fuck that shit.
but I was like, no, that's what I get into. Like if on first dates, I mean, I've talked about my divorce, I've talked about depression, anxiety, like all of these things because those are things that I actually care about. Those, and then finding that out and having those deep conversations is much more important to me than going through icebreaker questions. And I think that's why icebreaker questions drive me fucking crazy. Because asking me, if you had to fight, 10 duck-sized horses or 100 horse-sized ducks or whatever, which would you or whatever, like
What
shit
the
like that.
fuck?
That doesn't tell you anything about anybody. That's not real communication. That's
That's not gonna build a
shallow
relationship
bullshit.
for shit. What does that do long term?
Yeah,
Nothing.
exactly. It does nothing. And if that's just shallow bullshit. It doesn't get the conversation started either. There's like it unless you're
Well,
really
it's like talk about
have
what's actually important.
yeah
Talk about what's actually important to you, and those are things that are important to you. If you're interested in wanting to travel or whatever, talk about that on the date. If you're, I don't know, things that are actually important in your life, not like how many kids. I mean, don't talk about that on the first date. Like, how many kids do you want? I mean, wait
and
a
you
while for
might
that.
want to you can get rid of them early if they
I
want kids.
mean, maybe that's something you can weed out on a dating app too, but I mean, I don't know.
But
Talk about what's important.
it's just one of those things, yeah, that I think that communication should matter. And if communication is a constant flow of just sewer water that's just running by the drain over and over and over again, then there's no importance to it. If you actually savor it and you have only when it's most important, you only communicate about things that really make a difference. First of all, people are going to listen to you more. And secondly, people are like, you won't lose all the good stuff and miss all the shit as well.
Yeah.
That was a really bad analogy, but I think
I was thinking of a drain and then like the shit gets cleared and then you get like clean water. I don't know.
I
That's
don't know.
that's where my brain went
Like,
with that
sounds
one,
good
but
with that,
okay.
yeah, but
We're rolling with it.
yeah. It's just I think that sometimes it's okay to once again be quiet and just have something to say when you actually have something to say, and people will appreciate it more. They won't just roll their eyes, or they won't just treat it like mundane conversation.
Mm-hmm.
A big aspect of communication beyond listening is empathy, and this is the hard part. Empathy is the hard part with communication. Empathy is even when you're angry, putting yourself in the other person's shoes and trying to figure out why they did or said what they did.
Take a step back and go, how might they feel? Even though fuck their
Right.
feelings right now. How might they
Right.
feel?
Like if something happens that frustrates you or annoys you or makes you mad, being able to step back and say, well, why did that happen? What's going on in their lives that made them do this? Is it actually directed at me at all? Or maybe it has no bearing on who I am or me. Maybe it has no basis, maybe it has nothing to do with me at all. And it's just something that's going on in their own lives, and I should just be willing to listen about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's one of those things that, I mean, I don't get in many arguments with people, with friends, with loved ones, with whatever. Like even my ex-wife and I think we only had one or two arguments, and some of that was because I was too passive in
I was
situations
gonna say,
where I
yeah,
should have
you
spoke
didn't.
up. I should have spoken up. But the other thing is that when she was mad about things, a lot of times I would just be like, instead of getting defensive or angry, I would be like, okay, I understand why you're mad. What can we do to fix it in the future? And things like that. And so I think that it's always very important to
Well,
do
you're
that.
working on a resolution too. Instead of
Yes.
just letting it blow up to be mad to be mad, you're actually like, okay, I see you.
Yes.
Let's have this not happen again and find that resolution, which I think is a lot more valuable. I mean, yeah, sometimes people need to get that steam and blow it off or whatever, but at the same time, focus on moving forward.
And people, when especially when they're angry or upset, they don't always need to have the problem solved immediately. And sometimes they even know that you're powerless to do anything about it, and it's too late and it's already gone. They just want to be validated for how they feel. They just want to
Right.
know that you're like, yeah, that was I fucked up or whatever. My ex-wife and I said, but the woman that I had the affair with, who was my best friend, was very much about honesty. She was like, listen, I will be mad if you do something, but if you lie about it, that erodes trust, and that's actually more damaging than anything else. And that was a very valuable lesson. And she's like, so I would rather you tell me if there's something that's going to make me mad, and so that way I can, like, we can talk about it. Like I can at least you're owning up to it, and then we can discuss it, and that, and if I am mad about it, then I'll be able to handle it. And then so then I was able to. She and I would get into it sometimes, and then I would just be like, well, now I understand what you're mad. I did these things. Yes, I did. You have a right to be mad. And then she's like, I appreciate that. And like now we can move past it, because now I feel
Right.
like my anger has been validated. So validating someone's feelings can be a very important way to communicate with them.
Mm-hmm. And knowing that that will be well received in the future when you have another disagreement or something of like, oh, they're going to hear me out instead of lash out.
Yes, knowing,
We're,
and that it
yeah.
keeps you from lying too, because if you know that you can be honest, that you can bear the brunt of them being angry, and that you can get through it, that helps as well. So it takes two people. It's not just if someone's angry all the time for no reason and they're shitty people. You should never be a punching bag. Like, we're not saying that you should never be a punching bag or a doormat. Don't let somebody walk over you or beat you up about everything.
But
You could
arguments are going to happen and people are going
Yes,
to have disagreements, but obviously listen and show empathy, like you said.
right. Because sometimes when someone's angry or upset, they know it's not your fault. And they're not blaming you if they're angry. Like, someone being angry doesn't automatically mean that you're to blame. And so if you know that and they know that, and you can validate them, say, well, I understand why you're angry. That was a shitty thing that happened, or that sounds so frustrating, or whatever, then they can understand that they're right to be angry.
And they can go to you the next time for
Yes.
helping solve their problem or just knowing that you're like a shoulder to cry on. I hate that saying, but like someone
Yeah,
that
yeah,
will hear
right.
them out.
That you will listen. And that's
Yep.
really, that you listen without getting defensive, because it makes sense that people want to get defensive. Like someone's like, well, I didn't do that, or it's not my fault. Like, so, whatever. Someone starts snapping, getting snippy about stuff or whatever. It's easy to get defensive about it. But if you take a breath and realize it's not about you, it's about this person right now who's going through this, and you have a little bit of empathy, you actually can make sure that everybody feels better by the end, and without escalating it, because escalating it very rarely works well.
Hmm. I think another thing that just to bring up too, I think a lot of the issues with communications have to do with ego. And everyone's
Yeah.
trying to prove how fucking great they are or how right they are and versus how wrong someone else is. That and I mean, not to get political or anything, but like I feel like it's even more heightened now of, well, you're wrong for doing this because of COVID. Oh, you're right for doing this because of how you voted or whatever the case may be. And it's like, we need a little bit more of an ego check in relationships, whether they're intimate relationships or friendships or whatever, of just hearing someone fucking out and being empathetic of like, okay, I can try to understand where you're coming from with this, or why you're feeling like this regarding COVID or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I brought it up in the past of like Master of None, and I don't necessarily disagree on or don't necessarily agree on everything when it comes to COVID precautions, and that caused a lot of 1-star reviews on our podcast. Yay. Because everyone wants to disagree with me, but they don't realize the South is totally different from the rest of the country. But I digress. That like when we have like just missteps in how we handle COVID, I'm like, okay, I understand. Ego check here. I get where you're coming from. Okay, you understand where I'm coming from. Like, it's a non-issue. Like, I'm not gonna get mad about this or whatever. It kind of is what it is. Or, just being a little bit more down to earth about things instead of being like, well, I'm right because I'm fine, or or
Right.
I know more than you or whatever. And like I said, oh, this is new information presented to me. I had no idea. Cool. Let me hear you out now. And instead of being like, oh, I'm right and I'm gonna die on this fucking hill. That's never a way to present. And I think that's how it definitely was in the past. Like, I'm fucking right, so like suck my dick. Where that's not gonna earn you anything. That's gonna create more enemies than anything else. You're gonna lose a lot of people if you are like that.
And so I get like that when it's about certain issues. I will be very much about, oh well, you're wrong and you're so wrong that any word that comes out of your mouth is just doesn't have the value of actual shit. So I'm not going to listen to anything you have to say ever again. So you might as well just shut the fuck up and leave me alone. And I will get like that about certain things, like usually with strangers, trolls on the internet, and
A lot of them on TikTok, yes.
Yeah, a lot of them on TikTok. I know. And but beyond that, if you're communicating with someone you actually care about, that's where it's better to be empathetic. It's better not. You don't want to be petty. Pettiness is not a communication tool.
Yeah, it's not going to help you in the long run either. It might make you feel good short term, but long term, those people are not going to listen to you or trust you as much the more petty you are with them. So just try to avoid being petty.
Yes.
It feels good though. I will say.
Yes, it absolutely feels good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it does feel
doesn't
good.
really help.
And I think that you I was trying to get back pettiness, and then I know now I'm losing my own train of thought. That being right doesn't mean you're a good communicator. Like, even if on a factual basis you are right about something,
congratulations, you fucking the argument. And
exactly.
what?
And what? Like, a good.
Do you feel better?
Good job. Yeah.
Do you want a fucking cookie? I don't know.
You can say that you can. It's hard sometimes when you know that you're right to step away or stop arguing with somebody, and you have to find a way to do that. I found that since I'm always right, that
Shut the fuck up, Adam. Oh my god.
But I found that when I'm discussing something with someone and they are very stubborn, even though I am very convinced that I'm right about it, that sometimes I will literally just be like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Like, we're not going to agree on this. I respect your decision to disagree with me, and like that's fine. Can we move on? Like, and that's it. Like, you don't have to like say, well, you're right. You don't have to be like, okay, you're right, or lie about how you feel about it. But you can just be like, I don't want to keep talking about this. Like, this conversation is just going to keep going in a circle. Neither of us are getting anywhere with it. Maybe this is a topic we just we can approach it some other time or never again.
Yep.
And that's sometimes a good thing to do, unless it's like something that's crucial to, like, if you're in a relationship and it's a very crucial relationship, like I mean, politics are a good example. Like, if you're in a relationship and politics, politics are something that's important to you, and the two of you are arguing about this area, and I don't think it's healthy to be like, well, let's just agree to disagree on these things. Well, no, maybe that's somebody you shouldn't be in a relationship with. Like, if you can't agree on certain things like human rights, etc., then maybe it's not someone worth being with. But if it's a minor thing, if it's like, who the best James Bond character was, or, like, it's something stupid, that you guys are arguing about, it's okay to, like, just not talk about it.
I mean, I think you can disagree with politics and still be in a relationship. I know people who are hard Republicans and hard Democrats in relationships and they make it work, and they disagree on where they stand with things, but they're just like, okay, at the end of the day, I know I'm not going to change you, but that's not a deal breaker for them.
At the end of the day, I know I'm not going to change you, and I know that you don't think I should have the same equality that you do.
I
but
know you're gonna disagree
we're
on
in
that,
love. Yeah, no, that's bullshit. Fuck that.
I know you disagree with that, but like, I know people who are very on opposite sides of the spectrum with stuff, and they're like slowly they're meeting more in the middle, actually, surprisingly, but they're still not.
I feel like you'd have to meet in the middle eventually.
Yeah, like they're more slowly but surely meeting more in the middle on certain things because they're having open discussions about it, but they're not like arguing to the fact of I'm right and you're wrong type of thing. They're like, okay, new information presented to me. Let me hear you out on this. Okay, I disagree, and here's why. And they're like, they've been in a relationship like 8 years too. But I mean, I don't know.
I mean, but there, I would say there are some topics that are just that important you should be able to agree on, and if you can't, that might be a reason to assess the relationship, basically. But beyond that, most things, it's okay to be like, hey, let's not talk about this. This is not an area where we're not gonna have a good fruitful conversation, and it's okay. Like it's okay that we're not gonna agree on this. I think that's important. And I think the need to be passive aggressive is that kind of that pettiness. That's also going to always be harmful. Like people feel like sometimes like apologizing, like that maybe like that's a very important form of communication.
But
And
just being a
let's talk about
petty
apology.
apologizer
Well, no,
versus
just like yeah, let's talk about what a good apology is. What do you consider like a good apology?
recognizing your wrongdoings, stating that you understand based on how they feel, and just talking about a future compromise moving forward.
Yeah, and then having actions to back it up too.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because if you just apologize and then you do it again, it's just words. But
if you just say, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again," I mean, that's not fucking sincere, and that means nothing. Especially if you say it like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, whatever.
Or when someone's like, "Well, I'm sorry that you feel like I did this to you."
Oh,
Or,
go
you know,
fuck
like, yeah,
yourself.
see, that's not an apology. Like, apologies are an important part of communication. That's part of empathy. That if you actually can understand why someone might be mad and say, "I'm sorry that what I said did that. I did not
That
mean it."
wasn't my intention.
Yeah, even I didn't intend to it, but now I understand that makes you feel that way. That I'm not going to say that again. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to keep that in mind and be mindful of that, and then actually be mindful of it in the future. And I think it's a very important thing to do is to learn to communicate to apologize. That if you are in an argument and you are in the wrong, be the bigger person. It's okay. Like, and even if you're not in the wrong, it's okay to sometimes be the bigger person and just try to back the conversation down and try to de-escalate.
I agree with that. I think the other thing too is it's okay to be honest and go, I fucked up. My bad. But I think because of the ego, a lot of people don't want to do that. So check your ego and go, okay, is this worth losing this is very escalated, obviously, an argument, but it's like, is this worth losing this person over this fight? Check your ego at the door and go, okay, no, my bad. I let this go too far. Here's where my mistakes were made, and move on from there.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing with communication is check your fucking ego. I mean, I'm not gonna sum up the episode yet, but it's like check your fucking ego, shut the fuck up, and what was the other one? Bitch, no.
And listen.
And listen.
Check your fucking ego, bitch. Shut the fuck up, bitch. And listen, bitch. Also, while silence can be a good way to communicate when you're listening to someone, freezing someone out and not actually trying to communicate with them because you don't know what to do or whatever, I don't think is healthy.
Or you're not sure. Yeah, you're not sure if you really like them or not. Like, let's go early stages. If you're not sure if you like them or not, so you're like, I just might not respond to them because whatever. They'll be there. That's
that type of communication too. Yes. No, I'm saying that. I guess I was talking about more still about arguments in my mind. Is like that when people do like silent treatment and stuff like that. Like I feel like that's can be harmful because it doesn't allow either of you to communicate. Yeah.
Away.
Yeah, I know you're aware.
I wanted to move on from that one because I knew I was going to get roasted. So I was just like, I'm not roasting another thing.
I'm not roasting you.
I know it's bad. I own it. I own it though. I know what I do wrong. Right. That's fine. I work on it. I try to get better at it, and I think everyone can learn from their own mistakes too and own it. Just own your shit.
Yes. And so like I said, that's all argument based. But you're right. We should talk a little bit more about the basic communicating in like the initial stages of dating as well, because that's something that listening is good, having good conversations, only speaking when you have something worthwhile to say. But what else would you say about like the kind of initial stages of communicating?
Oversharing.
Is it a bad thing or a good thing?
I think oversharing could be a bad thing early on. Be careful with oversharing. I talked about the icing. Don't put someone on ice just because you're like, they're fine, they'll be there. That's kind of rude, and it goes back to treat others the way you would like to be treated. If someone did that to you and put you on ice, how the fuck would you feel? You'd be like, well, fuck that person. So why would you do that to another person that you just started dating? I think that's rude. Not to say I haven't done it, but I've done it. But it was rude. Let's see. I mean, I mean, communication in the bedroom. I mean, we've talked about communication in the bedroom of being honest with what you like and don't like and what you're, I don't know, and how things are going. That's a whole nother realm
That's
of
a whole, yeah,
communication that
yeah,
we
that's
haven't
true.
even really
We didn't even touch on
we
that.
haven't really hit on either. But we have in past episodes of like how to communicate better in the bedroom. But that's a whole nother element of just early on dating, how to handle that.
I would say as well that not like the oversharing aspect. Not everything in your head has to be said, even if it's relating to the person, because people can be uncomfortable if you're really feeling good about about a potential relationship. You can tell them that you're enjoying things. You can tell them, but you don't have to keep pushing it, because if they start kind of pushing back a little bit or feeling a little awkward about it or whatever, it can make them uncomfortable, because once again, when you start dating someone, a lot of times you're dating the first impression. You're going by that. You're going about what you're learning about them, and then you're also, a lot of who you're dating at that time is the person you've painted in your head of who they
Yep.
are. And that's not necessarily reality. And so if you're like, oh, I see such a future, I see so much potential, or I'm so into you, that type of communication can be harmful.
It comes across as love bombing to a
Well,
certain
right,
degree as
because
well.
once again, you're not necessarily talking about them. You're talking about this little experience you have with them, and so that might not be enough, information. And a lot of people, they're pretty either realistic about themselves or down on themselves, and like they don't think they're necessarily worthy of love, and they don't think they're always. A lot of people don't think they're worthy of
That's
of
true.
of the affection and attention. They're going to be suspicious of it, so you have to keep some of that in your head. And as you get to know somebody, you can start to tell them. But it's like there's episodes of different shows that I always have about like both the women and the men like have to like let their crazy out in like small doses. You don't give someone your crazy all at once.
Well, you don't know someone after the first, second, third, fourth, fifth date. You get to know someone after a handful of months.
Yeah.
And even then there's still so much more to learn about them. So don't think that you don't know all of their goals, you don't know all of their life plans, you don't know what all of their likes and dislikes are just after them stating off a couple things after you figure you have a connection with them because you have similarities. I mean, just be realistic about it. And I think too, just to bring on the mistakes that I've made, is a rush timeline, feeling like I have to be married by X age or whatever, that pushes all this communication at a hypersonic speed of, okay, well, let me just spit you with all of this shit
Right.
that's coming out of my brain. And it's like, just take a second and don't have all of these high expectations for where you're going to be in 2 years married with 3 kids. I mean, but I've been there, and I think people are still there of like, well, I have to hit this age with this, or I'm a failure or whatever. And don't overshare. Just get your fucking ego out. A lot of it is tied to ego, though. A lot of the problems with communication are tied to ego, because everybody has something to prove, instead of just saying, hey, here's a cool person I just met. How would you handle it if it was just a friend that you met for the first time, or a new acquaintance you met? You wouldn't be like that with them. I'm hoping you wouldn't be. So take it the same way with this person, because long term, you want a relationship that you have a friendship with, not just, oh, we're so compatible. So don't rush that like you wouldn't rush a regular acquaintance that turns into a friendship.
Absolutely. And there's something you said too about like every relationship has its own milestones in it. It proceeds at its own pace. Everybody also has their own communication style. So whatever works for you, as long as it works for both of you, if someone asks you to be more communicative, then make an effort to be more to communicate better with them. But if it works for you, it's great. Like you and Master of None have the weirdest communication of that I've ever seen. Just how little you guys actually talk to each other during the week. But it works for you. Neither of you are pining after the other. You're both busy. You have lives. You're independent individuals who have your own shit to do. And if something occurs to one of you, you're gonna text or call the other and talk. Like if something comes up, but it's not like this mandate. Like every day you have to text it in the morning, and everything like that. And because that also can cause a lot of resentment over
Yep.
time
Mm-hmm.
if one of you isn't really into that. And so the fact that you guys have fallen into or not fallen into, but gotten into a good pattern that works for both of you, at first you were a little concerned about it, and then over time you realized that you really didn't. It wasn't really a big deal. Like you didn't really need it.
It just was different. That
Yeah.
was just a different communication style. But I think back to actually currently how my communication style is with certain friends. That's kind of how we are too. Like I'll text every couple of days and I don't really hear from them for whatever. And our friendship's still strong, you know?
Yeah.
So who's to say it can't work for long-term relationships either? Obviously, starting off, you don't want to just put them on ice or have them put you on ice. But, you know, once you kind of get in a good groove and you trust that person and you're at the understanding of how they communicate, you can figure that out and treat it as just, I don't know, like I treat Master of None as like, yes, I love the shit out of him, but also like it's a friendship too. Like
Yeah, of course, as it
we're
should
very
be.
like we're very good friends and I feel very comfortable telling him things, and it's in a way that like I'm comfortable telling my best friends certain things too. Obviously not everything, but you know what I mean? Like just how we communicate has that flow that matches other friendships that I have, and that's a really good feeling. So when you're dating, I think find that flow of how you would be with friends instead of just like, oh, this is everything I want, boom, 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 and rush everything. Just let it be how you would treat a friendship, a healthy friendship.
Yeah, because I find that people who need have that need to be communicated with on a constant minute by minute basis, it smacks of codependency and just has so many unhealthy behaviors because like you don't know how to do anything or do like act on your own without communicating with the other person. And I used to actually have to be better at that. I mean, I'm better at that now, but I wasn't always. I would have something where I had potential plans with like a girl, and I was waiting to hear from her to see if we were going to do something, and I would just sit at home and wait to hear, rather than being like, oh, no, I'm going to go do my own thing. If she didn't choose to communicate back with me, like that's her loss. And but I was like so desperate to make sure that I was going to be available if she communicated back that she was available, that I would just like literally just
Oh
sit at
God,
home.
that sounds like a game again.
Oh
Damn.
yeah. It was so that was, and so I had to learn to be like, no, I have my own life, and that if she misses out on that, that's her loss as well, and so I can't sit there and just wait for her. So I think we've
I know. I'm like, I mean,
communicated
we
pretty
didn't
well
really
about
touch
communication.
that into sex, but we've touched
Well, it's
on
the
it.
same thing though. I mean,
I mean,
communication and sex is listen and empathize. Like, I mean, like that's really what it is. Put yourself in the other person's position, quite literally, and and listen, and don't let your ego get in the way. Like, don't let your ego get bruised. Like those are probably that's just as effective in the bedroom as well. That if you want someone to do something, then just tell them. Hey, this feels better if you do this, and don't be like that guy that you went out with he was going down on you, and like you tried to tell him what to do, and he was like, I know it works or whatever.
Oh
He said
my God, yeah.
something
And he's
like
like,
that,
no,
right?
I know. And I'm like, you don't know my vagina like that?
Yeah,
God
you try to tell
damn.
him what felt good and what didn't. He was like, I know what I'm doing, or something like that. And you're like, all right,
Like the
dude.
fuck you don't,
Yeah.
but okay.
I know that you're not going to be doing that again, basically.
For fucking
Yeah.
real.
So yeah, I think that's the same basic principles, and I think that we really can boil this down to the takeaways for communication to be about listening, no ego, and empathizing.
Shut the fuck up, bitch.
Shut the fuck up, bitch.
Yes, and I guess that wraps up this week's episode. If you want to watch all of the fun on YouTube, you can. Oh my God, why is my computer freezing? I hate every.
Yes, you can follow us on YouTube. Watch us on YouTube at
Yep.
youtube.com/dating kind of sucks. So you get to see our
You see Adam
beautiful
cough every like 20
God,
minutes.
I know. You can follow us, and of course our Facebook group is always popping, and that's facebook.com/group/DKS podcast.
You can follow us on Instagram at Dating Kinda Sucks. I think we've just been MIA since I've been on vacation, honestly. But you can follow us on there, or follow our own personal Twitters or Instagram accounts as well as TikToks. And then
TikTok is TikTok. I have to start
Oh,
promoting
yours
it
is
now because it's been growing like significantly. So TikTok.com/Adam Heavitable. So it's just Adam Heavitable instead of Avitable, where like I am everywhere else. And you can follow me there. And Sarah has her username is the same as her Instagram.
Yeah, which I've again been ghost on there as well. And then if you want to be a patron for $5 a month or more, you can join us at patreon.com/DKS podcast for again as little as $5 a month. We do have some shout outs this week from new members.
Yes, we have two new patrons who joined. Thank you very much to Tara Sretwanakul and Michelle Messer. Appreciate both of you and everyone else who subscribes. There's going to be a Patreon bonus episode we're going to be recording after this, so you get bonus episodes and more as things progress. So it's worthwhile, and it does support us, which is great. And of course, if you have any questions, if you need advice, if you want anything else, you can always email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. And we'll either reply by email, or sometimes we'll just take your question and go right on air with it as well.
Like we did today.
Yes, exactly. Finally, if you are listening on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating and review. I know we say this every episode, but it is important that if you haven't done this yet and you're on iTunes, then you should have by now. Like, I don't know what's stopping you, but that 5-star rating and review makes a big difference. The review actually really helps with Apple podcasts, as well as how they rate and rank podcasts. So that rating and review is huge. So please do that. Otherwise, you can share with your friends. Follow us on Spotify and all those other places as well. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode.
And we won't miss it either. Until next time.
Yes.
Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck. On Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck. Because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers he plucks. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.